Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of Meet Our Team. CJ, thanks for joining us.
I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, I'm excited to talk to you. Um, this is CJ Johnson, and CJ, you originally got involved with drawchange when?
Back in 2016, it's been an amazing 4 years, and I hope there are many more.
You're so precious. And you got involved, you found us on volunteermatch.org, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And I mentioned that because we actually still have volunteer positions. We still use that platform for all of our programs around the world. And you started off volunteering at the shelters, which you still do pre-COVID. We're gonna talk today like COVID doesn't exist when we say at the shelters, things like that. So yeah, everyone can imagine we stopped going to the homeless shelters around March, and just now we're easing back in very, very, very slowly. So then you started going to the homeless shelters, and actually, before I even go there, why did you sign up to volunteer with us? What about drawchange attracted you?
So, what about drawchange that attracted me was, of course, the art basis of your organization. I am an artist. I don't always label myself as an artist, but I do photo, video work, and I got a degree in graphic design. So art has always been a big part of my life. And when I wanted to look into volunteer opportunities and how I could devote a section of my life to doing something that I view as the most worthy, something someone can do, your organization immediately stood out to me, that you use art in this most wonderful way to help children that most need it.
And you shared the story not too long ago. Your first actual time with us was not at the shelter. It's when I had you hanging up lights for us in that office space that we had like a 40-foot ceiling. But did you just do that once? Did you volunteer at the office just once before going to the shelter?
I think it was a handful of times. I let you know that I had some graphic design experience, so you invited me. Yeah, you invited me to come, and I met Jacqueline and Tori and some other wonderful people in the organization. And I was immediately struck by how genuine and how well you all work together. So that only encouraged me to get more and more involved.
Yeah, so we have this thing called #drawchange family. And I feel like it's so real. You know, like Jacqueline and Tori that you just mentioned, like we actually like get together and we like talk about drawchange and then talk not about drawchange, and really are kind of a part of each other's lives. So awesome, amongst many other people, not just them two. But yeah, that's so awesome. I'm glad to have you a part of the family. It's amazing. It's been almost 5 years now.
Yes. I've spent many hours, and many hours. Yeah. And so many different ways. And it's really been an arc that my involvement has kind of grown and grown. And I've been lucky enough that you've given me more trust and more influence really that's very precious, that you would trust me with something that is your heart. It's like your heart outside of your body, this organization. So I very much appreciate that you have that level of trust in me.
Yeah, I mean, well, you have proven yourself. You know what I mean? Like you dedicate so much time to drawchange. And now, Mari Anderson commented, she said #drawchange family, and she put a heart. She's a part of the drawchange family. You know her very well. So part of that increased responsibility has been what? What are you talking about?
So I started off being a very dedicated volunteer. I would go to the 2 different shelters that we visit in Atlanta, and I would help out with our big fundraising events of the year, the 5K. It kind of grew from there. I loved being around you guys so much. I got so much out of being there with the children. I got more comfortable in my self-confidence that I was making a big influence on them, and that I could only give them more, that I could only learn more about it. so that I could vocalize and just be there and kind of anticipate what was going to happen. So the more experience I got, the more I felt like I know what's going to happen, and I can help, and I can do this. And so you allowed me to start becoming a program lead and actually leading the sessions at the shelters. But that only came after I visited Ethiopia with you all, because I pretty much was going to any event that you had, and I attended one of your Ethiopia wrap-up parties, and I got to hear all about the experiences that you and the group of people you took with that year had. And you said, we'd love to have you next year. And I thought that would be amazing, but that's kind of a pipe dream. I don't know. But one thing led to another, and it very quickly became a reality. And, you know, with you, Jennie, it's just been so easy to go all in, because you trust me, but I so trust you like 100% as well. I mean, to go to Africa, I was like, Jeannie's got it covered. She's got it all. So I completely trusted you. I was like, you're going to take me on this adventure, and whatever happens is going to be amazing. And if I can just help her, I've always just wanted to support you and the organization, just make it easier. So I hope that I've done that.
Yeah, I mean, I mean it when I say, like, I couldn't do what I do without the support of others, which is probably up there with the number one reason why I'm doing the series, because some people still sometimes think that I'm doing this all on my own. I'm like, you all have no idea, like the CJs that I have, and, you know, the Allens that I have, and the other people that I've already interviewed that I have, that I could not do this without you all. Like, going to Ethiopia, I couldn't manage that on my own. A little bit about that program for anyone that's watching. That program continues to run throughout the year. Again, we're talking like COVID doesn't exist for this scenario. Like, where the program continues throughout the year, but once a year, I take a group of volunteers over there to check up on the program and run an intensive on the program. And CJ, you went with actually Mari, that's also listening right now. Was it last year? Well, yeah.
Well, it was 2017 that we went. Wow. Yeah.
Wow. So what would you say was a similarity or difference that struck you when we got there and we were starting to implement drawchange at one of our community centers there?
You had prepared us very thoroughly for what we might encounter. The fact that we had one translator, and there might be the leader of that community center might speak a little bit of English, but the children, you know, really wouldn't. And so I had my sheet with the common phrases, and I did my best and to speak their beautiful language. But what I really realized is art is the perfect vehicle for nonverbal communication. And when I was there, I completely witnessed the children experiencing certain materials for the first time. It was amazing to see their reaction to look at the paint palette and hold the brush and touch the brush with their fingers and look at each other like, whoa, like, what can I do with this? It's something that was completely new to them, because art supplies is not readily available in Ethiopia. So to see that reaction was just, even after having been to the shelters multiple times, was something completely new for me. It's what I would call very visceral, that they just, you could see it on their faces I felt that in the shelters in Atlanta, you know, children, they're trying to mask a lot and they're trying to cover up their emotions. But in Ethiopia, they're kind of just, they're letting it all out. And especially when they have these new and different opportunities. So I saw them experiencing the materials and doing these things for the very first time, which made it incredibly powerful. Anyone that's an artist or that devotes a certain amount of their life to the arts knows how powerful it was when you first tried it yourself for the first time. So imagine seeing that in a room of 25 children that you're just meeting and you can't speak the language. It was powerful.
Yeah. Now that was the year that we created with no electricity for a few hours, right?
I believe so. Yeah, they kind of were constructing like nearby, and I think we did all kinds of things from playing outside to when we couldn't be inside to always like having a backup plan as you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what you described to me, I interpret it also as like a sense of wonder. Like they have a sense of wonder for the paintbrush that's given to them, or and that's just such a beautiful thing, I think, to witness. And I've never actually thought of it that way. So you're like kind of open my eyes to that different perspective. That's awesome. And so, two things. One thing is we are always looking for volunteers to join us. We were not able to go this year, unfortunately, but we will return as soon as we are able to that program. And I actually heard that they're starting to return to the community center now after all this time. So that'll be, and then they're going to start the draw change sessions up again. So that'll be awesome. And the other thing is, so through COVID, you, as well as everyone, has not been able to volunteer physically. So one of the things that we did as a result of COVID is our largest fundraiser of the year is Art Camp for children with homes. That's the politically correct way to say it. And it's a fundraiser, and it's throughout the summer and some school holidays. We weren't able to have that, so we moved to online. And CJ here has been one of the mainstays, I'm not sure of the word to use there, that you have helped keep that program running, and you're there twice a week, every day. So what has that, continuing to talk about the similarities and or differences, what would you say has been the main similarity or difference from teaching art camp to your experiences in Ethiopia or here back home in the States? Is there anything you can think of?
Of course, I got to experience art camp in person last summer, and I got to do that for several weeks, and it was amazing to spend an extended amount of time with the children and get to do several projects where you can really dive in, because most of our projects at the shelters, we have to keep to about 45 minutes. So in-person art camp, it was like an evolution to really dive deep into these concepts of how we can build our self-confidence through art, how we can be collaborative with each other in art. And then when we took it virtual this summer, what I found to be amazing is that how children are dealing with the pandemic, the stress, the uncertainty, getting to have to be separated from their friends, that what I never anticipated was that draw change would be the perfect vehicle to sort of combat that almost depression and stuff that they were going to have to work through as a result of being cut off. That what draw change is all about is bringing us together, finding the commonalities and creating together, and then building each other up by having our show and tells at the end of our time together, so that we can all comment, and we all are giving each other that time in the spotlight, that time to feel heard, to feel seen and heard, which is so important. And of course, right now, these children, even though they have homes, and they are not feeling heard and seen, they're kept away from their friends, they're kept away from what they know. And when they can get on with us and do virtual camp, I mean, even though we're looking at each other on screens, we're still connecting like so deeply, that we're meeting each other, we're learning about each other, and we're listening. And even if they have virtual school, the teacher is kind of just talking at them, the whole time. And we get to talk with them and go back and forth. And that's the most powerful thing that we're doing, that we're still being there for them, and they leave and they're like, wow, I've made all these great friends, and they can't wait to come back the next week. And they do a project that they haven't, even if they have art class at school, they do a project that they've never seen before. So it's been really amazing to see how our program translates to the virtual platform.
Yeah, thank you. And that was kind of just had to happen. Like, how do we figure this out? What can we do online? Didn't you tell me that one child said something like, could you believe we didn't know each other and now we do, or something like that? Do you remember that? What was that comment?
Right. Recently, one of the boys that we had that has come several times, we're taking a little break over the holidays right now. And so on our last day, he was just reminiscing a little bit about all the great projects. And he said, wow, like Mr. CJ, can you believe that there was a time when we didn't know each other? And I was like, I really can. I mean, I can only imagine that even he hasn't talked to his classmates as much as he's talked to us. So it's very sweet that he said that, and he's only 5, so it was, I mean, amazing to hear that from him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, they really made connections, and I believe he always only came once a week, right?
Yes,
Yeah, it's not even like 5 days a week, but once a week. Like, we became that one day a week. Every Wednesday, I believe he came. I know as a 5-year-old, he probably doesn't know that today's Wednesday, but that regularity for him became so important. And that's, a lot of what we do at the shelters, right? Is we become a constant. Someone was asking me the other day, like, are you still continuing, or do you continue throughout the holidays? And I was like, I have a family too, and I don't necessarily like, I like to eat dinner with my family, but these children are living in homeless shelters, so our programs don't stop. So we have gone to the homeless shelters on Christmas evening and Thanksgiving evening if they, fall at the time we're at the shelters. And I think that's so important, that consistency for like humanity, right? Because we're talking about these children are children with homes, children in very different socioeconomic status than the children in Ethiopia or even the children in the homeless shelters. But yeah, it all ties together, and it's so similar. I think it's a beautiful thing how I'm a little biased, but I think it's a beautiful thing how they all mix in. So thank you for sharing that. I have one final question for you. Let me think of how I want to word this. Is there a specific experience that you can remember that either impacted you from your experience with the children, or that for you were like, wow, this stuff really works. Like, I can tell with this child how drawchange is making a difference in this child, or like I said, even for you in your life.
Well, there are many, many experiences, and I kind of, like I spoke about earlier, I kind of saw my progress as a teacher, as someone who was a program lead, and that you were entrusting with this information to get it across to the children and be a leader of what's going on. I kind of chart my comfort level with the material, with seeing how some of them were progressing. There were so many children that I can think of that were really just non-responsive when we first started working with them the first week, the second week, that it would just be a battle. It would be a battle for them to sit in the chair. It would be a battle for them to take their hood off, to put their phones down. So everything was a battle, but each week it got a little easier and a little easier and a little easier. And some of the shelters, the children can be there a week and leave, and sometimes they're there for months. So like you're saying, for those certain children that are there for a very long time, I get to know them very well. And I try so hard to memorize all of their names, because I see when we're still getting to know each other, when I say their name correctly, it's like, it blows their mind, because not only that, they have like 10 siblings that are there with them. So I do my very best to remember their names. And I mean, it's just something as simple as that. So there are several children where it was just a battle, and eventually you will get to the point where they come in and they'll give you a little smile, or they'll give you a little hand high five on the way out. And just that is like amazing because you know where it started and you know how long it took to get there. But you also realize that this is the child that needs it the most, the ones who are coming in ready to go, that we're so glad that we can be there and do that with them. But the ones that start out in a terrible place, if you can get them to a much better mental situation, that is, I mean, that's the goal. That is, we want to be there with them. We want to just let them, you know, let it out. I mean, there's many times where they just won't speak at all, and then, you know, eventually, halfway through, they'll be like, "I just lost my grandpa," or "I I had a terrible fight with my sister," and they're completely shut off, but they feel safe in this environment to let us know what's going on, and we're just there with them. We're like, you know, we're so sorry to hear that. We want to be here with you. I'll sit down and draw right next to them. I'll try all kinds of things, because just moving your hand across that paper, people don't realize that's everything.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. I think us going into all of these programs with our little army of people that we show up, you know, like sometimes it's 8, 9, even 10 adults. And, you know, when we have larger groups, allows that to happen and allows those beautiful little moments of communication to occur, because in a traditional teaching setting, you know, that would never be possible, because the teacher has to, you know, if a teacher were to sit down with a child, one child, then who knows what the whole class is going to be doing. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. I love the fact that we can create an ongoing program with a commitment to, we're going to be here as long as you'll have us. And, you know, hopefully we'll be able to see the children more than once. But if we don't, you know, sometimes that's a good thing that they have found a home. And then sometimes, honestly, it's bittersweet, because it means they went back out into the streets. But yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment. Thank you for sharing. Do you have anything else you would like to share specifically about Draw Change, your involvement, anything?
Well, I mean, what I would like to say, just if by chance there's anyone that's watching this that's just hearing about Draw Change for the first time, you know, I encourage you just to learn a little bit more about it. I guarantee you're not going to find another nonprofit that exactly does what we're trying to do. We do a very specific thing, and it's something that most people wouldn't ever think of. That they kind of blows their minds when they find out about it for the first time. So I would just say, you know, go to the website, read a little bit more about it. I can only say that what you would call a testimonial from all the people that I've met in the organization, that we truly care about it. And when people, one thing takes it away from another, they always are still checking in and finding out how it's going. And there's just an infinite ways that you can help out. I've just been fortunate enough to be there in person and do all of this work one-on-one. But if you know any child in your life that is at all dealing with the stress of the pandemic, that our virtual sessions could be just a really amazing thing. We've had many parents tell us that, you know, they thought they were going to do 3 sessions at the most, and then their child was just saying, "No, I want to go back." Like I've made friends, and honestly, their parents tell us that their child was so reserved at the beginning, and they can see a change starting to happen in them. And like, what can be more important than that during this time? So I would just say, if you know any children in your life, please consider these virtual sessions that we do.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that. And you all, I didn't pay him to say any of that or prompt him. Thank you so much for your time today, CJ. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your involvement, for your heart, and for all that you give to Draw Change. I mean it when I say how appreciative I am and how I couldn't do what I do without people like you. So thank you. And enjoy your evening. Happy Thanksgiving, because that's coming up real soon. I'll probably talk to you before then, but happy Thanksgiving. And thank you again. I really appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.